Let's try that again. Good afternoon, traders. Sounds like I'm broadcasting there. Listening in to Ben Zinga, see if he's got any updates, but seems like it went through most of the major news already. Thanks for checking in, guys. Briguy here on Briguy After Hours on DayTradingRadio.com. We'll take a look at some of the news that passed over today and see where things were left standing. And it looks pretty obvious from the tail of the tape, as it were, that this market wants to just keep on going, keep on trucking, as it were. So we got gold is up today, another $4.50 or so. ES, as you can tell, up about 0.75%. And looks like the fact that I went and clicked on a couple of things made this thing disconnect. Darn it. How'd that work? Just trying to force a square peg in a round hole, as it were. So we see the ES futures are up another 10.5 points today, 0.75%. And this is going to be something that we are going to blame on technology. All those complaints about consumer spending hitting all-time lows, or at least, I shouldn't say all-time lows, but lows since, what was it, December 2011 was the latest report. And yet, what is all the earnings telling us that people are spending their money on? So the question is going to be whether this Google pop today is going to be related to Apple's earnings. Can we get any kind of indication tomorrow of what Apple will be up to? Well, we'll have to see. Try to put on a tune or so for you while we're waiting for more news to come out. If you guys want to request any songs, feel free to send me a private message or put it in the main room there. I'll do my best to keep my eye out for it. But in the meantime, let's see if this one works.
to appreciate those nights and those dreams. But my friend, I'd sacrifice all those nights if I could make the earth and my dreams the same. The only difference is to let love replace all I hate. So let's go there, let's make our escape. Come on, let's go there. Let's ask, can we stay? Can you take me higher to a place where line might see? Can you take me higher to a place with golden streams? So let's go there, yeah, let's go there. Come on, let's go there. Let's ask, can we stay? Set up high, I'm strong enough to take these dreams and make them mine. Can you take me higher to a place where line might see? Can you take me higher to a place with golden streams? Can you take me higher to a place where blind men see? Can you take me higher to a place with golden streams?
Alright, this is Briguy back with you here on DayTradingRadio.com. Getting some good advice from my friend Learjet. Appreciate it. That's I hadn't thought about doing that, so I will have to play around with my stochastics to do just what you described. And I know I've seen that on probably your charts, maybe somebody else's, as far as combining stochastic studies. I usually reshape it so it looks like this, and you're going to give me something else that I have to start focusing on. So gee, thanks, appreciate it. So we see Google here popping up to let's see, didn't really set a new high water mark here. I think I have these set for 5-day intervals. Let me just see what my intraday settings are here. No, that says 1 day. So not a 1-day high. That's interesting. But yet still popping up into the 737 range, it looks like. This stashed yellow line, if you could see that at home or in your car, wherever you're at, is set at yesterday's close. So that was 747 and a quarter or thereabouts. So we seem right at that. And I have a fib line in here. Must be from a previous study, and the futures just reopened here at 4:30 Eastern time. So we'll see if there's a little bit of profit taking up at these levels, or if folks want to hang on to things for tomorrow. But futures are going to stay open till till exactly 5:15 Eastern. So you could take a look at that. I see someone posting 737 in the room. What do we call in there? 737. Is that the high mark? And we have a few crickets.
Texas Instruments reports Q4 EPS 23 cents on sales 2.98 billion.
That's Texas Instruments.
Q1 sales 2.69 to 2.91 billion. Ticker Tango X-Ray November. The street was at 34 cents for Q4. Sales were at 2.95 billion.
All right, so we got an update there from Benzinga regarding Texas Instruments. So a lot of technology coming out this week. This is usually, in January at least, I know, a cluster of earnings reports. And Google used to come out pretty regularly on a Thursday, and it used to be a really high value options play because it would be the Thursday before Friday expiration. So here they are now, moving it a little further, a little earlier in the week, and perhaps given a different perspective on those options plays. Of course,
Texas Instruments adjusted Q4 earnings look to be 8 cents per share. Very slightly better than a 7-cent estimate from the street, Tango X-Ray November.
Okay, so in retrospect, everything is
Texas
doing.
Instruments sees Q1 EPS 24 to 32 cents. That's versus a 34-cent estimate from analysts on Wall Street.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Land Jr. I don't know if we've called out this guy's name or not, but he sounds like the DTR Brian to Johnny's Mr. Land, if you know what I'm saying. And while I was getting logged in and set up with the various windows, and we had the technical issues of me getting disconnected there, I failed to mention that if you hadn't already heard, that Johnny was left the show earlier in the day to deal with some personal matters at home.
Texas Instruments shares moving slightly lower after hours, down around 2% right now. Tango X-Ray November.
Regarding a family pet, so a sad time for the Johnny Rockstar household, and our thoughts and prayers, of course, go out. We had a lot of comments about that earlier in the room, and if you are signing in later in the afternoon, and I did have some private messages asking about it, so that's the reason John was out the rest of the day. So I'm sure he'll be back bright and early tomorrow, and he'll pick up where he left off with the various trade setups. I know he was really excited about the HPS list this week, and took some early positions in some of those stocks, and if I'm not mistaken, actually even banked the profits on a few as well. So that's where that stands, and a shout out to RPM for filling in from the midday hour on into the close. Much appreciated there, keeping things rolling here on DayTradingRadio.com. So let's take a look at the markets and see where we left things off here at the end of the day. Of course, the Dow Jones is up again today. Let me get my other watch list up here, where I've got the percentages. So nearly another 0.5% on the Dow Jones, and I believe we're hitting some 52-week highs on some of these indices again. The S&P 500, the cash market, up 0.44% to 1492.51. The Nasdaq up 0.25% at 3,143.18. Look for that number to be drastically different tomorrow
Google's conference call just getting underway.
If these earnings reports hold up and there aren't any surprises found in the filings by tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. And the Russell 2000, the small caps market, up 0.75%, thereabouts to 899.24. And that is the high of the day. So we're finishing at the highs on the indices, and very strong starting the week off after having the 3-day holiday. So we'll see where that leads. With our metals, we've got gold up 0.28% today to 1691.70. That's about $4 off the high. Silver up nearly a full percentage point to $32.22.5. That's about 14 cents off the high. Copper up 0.69% to $3.70.5, and that's finishing right about at the high. Oil up 0.6% at $96.62, again very near to the high. The Euro 6E was up very slightly at 0.04% at $1.333, and still trading and slightly off the high of 33.77. So that's where we stand with our indices. And the ES, you see, maybe taking a little breather here at this level, trading now at 89.25. It's about 0.75 point off the high, but certainly setting up to be a flag there, possible move higher. We'll see if these levels hold. The stochastics are starting to turn over here on this first one. Second one's still flat, and the volume very light now. So we'll see where that goes. Looking at the earnings reports that have come out, Google still holding strong at this level. Conference call has started and yet still holding up in these levels. So if anyone has any information about those reports they'd like to share with us, you can either post them in the room, you can call me up on Skype. Looks like we lost our scroll. See if I can get that back up again. But you're welcome to call in, text in, and share with us some news on some of those earnings plays. Or if you prefer, you can also report on any trades you've taken today. If you'd like to give us a call and talk about a setup that you enjoyed today and you want to go over it, you want to talk about it, you want to cry about it, whatever it is, we'll take a look. Thank you, RJ. Yes, we did lose sound, unless you were sitting next to me and you heard my expert opinion given on Google here and why you should be dumping all your shares of RIM and buying Google. No, I didn't say anything like that. So I appreciate you guys staying on top of that with me here. Hit the button, and apparently it did not turn on. So I will get a second shot at saying what I just said and maybe try to say it in fewer words, because that's how long I had been talking to myself. I was reading off the Google report, which by now you may have already read. You see the numbers where they stand. And what this early report was indicating was the fact that revenue had included Motorola Home, that it increased 50% from a year ago. It was $12.16 billion from $8.13 billion a year ago. So that's a big jump. However, in this quarter, Google is saying that they're treating Motorola Home Unit as a, quote, discontinued operations and separating the group's results from the rest of its businesses in its earnings release. And the switch had sparked some confusion among Wall Street analysts, many of whom are still including Motorola Home in their estimates for Google's earnings. I opined that those so-called experts should have a link on their spreadsheet that they could simply turn off the Motorola Home number and pull it out of the rest of their earnings estimates and therefore not be so confused. But we'll see if they actually do that. IBM now, some time after the conference call, we had some volume spike there. I don't know, we'll see if we can find out what came out on that report or on that call. But here at about 4:40 p.m. Eastern, we had a nice little volume spike, and here we are another, let's call that half an hour later or so, and we're starting to curl up again on volume, trading now $203 or so, which is up about $7 after the close. CREE's conference call comes up later on today. Looks like that will be at about, is that 5 p.m. Eastern? Let me see. Yes, 5 p.m. Eastern for the CREE conference call. Texas Instruments, let's see if we have their conference call tonight. Looks like it's later on at 5:30 Eastern Time. So we'll see what kind of positioning happens there. It seems to be trading all over the place. Google now well after the conference call, and really no strong move either way, trading now $734 after the close, and maybe on my awesome reporting to myself, shares starting to move higher. What I had mentioned about, or what I was trying to mention at least on Google, was the fact that they had changed something with their advertising, so that it seems to me that they're looking to combine their advertising calculations and no longer differentiate between a mobile advertisement versus the traditional, let's call it terrestrial advertisement on a desktop computer or laptop. And the reason is obvious. There's just the lines are being blurred as to what people are using. And even though when you consider a cell phone, the size of the ad is certainly very small, the continued delivery of those ads in various forms is starting to become seamless. And we see some strength here. In fact, I might have been saying this to myself, which is that I had drawn this trend line on the screen going back for the past few hours across the highs, and we had all these higher highs, and then I just let it extend itself out through the breakout just to see if that would then in turn form a support level to this little flag that we have, whether this is a bull flag or will grow into a pennant of some kind. For now, it's just some sideways action here after the close, trading about 3/4 off of the high, and now just a half a point off of the high. So keep an eye on that. You see the stochastics kind of did a little bit of a fade, a little bit of a fake out, and still pulling up now back over the 20-period average and holding. And we'll see what that does now for the next 20 minutes or so into the close of the futures for the session. So anyway, I had mentioned that according to a radio expert interview that I heard, that in Google's advertisements, they changed something last year, and that is when you go to post a new ad on Google, and this would be if you're a business and you want to post an ad on Google. The average person doesn't use this feature, but if you're advertising on Google with Google AdWords, the default used to be your ad would be placed on the desktop services, and if you chose to have it also show up in the mobile market, you can throw a switch, check a box off, and they will also let that ad show up in mobile space. Now, of course, this is advertisements that are based on pay-per-clicks or pay-per, what's the word I'm looking for? Presentation. I can't think of the word. PPM, PPC, all this terminology. Impression, that's the word, PPI. So the point is that they changed that last year, earlier in the year, so that mobile was a default. To the average advertiser, if you're just a regular Joe, small business, medium-sized business, and you're going in there placing ads, you probably don't care. Your ads are going to go wherever it's going to go, and that's fine with you. But if you're in the budget of a $10,000 campaign, let's say, then you probably already were paying attention to whether it was a mobile ad or a desktop ad. So it won't really affect the really large businesses, but it will seem to bring up the amount of mobile ads that are being shown based upon the average business advertisers that are out there. So at least in this fellow's expectations, the numbers for Google Ads would then increase based upon that. And it could be an indication of why Google is moving away from separating their different earnings, and maybe in the future they'll just be presenting it as one number. We'll see how that goes. Let's read an earlier report here from IBM. Of course, we saw what happened with their report. The shares rose after the close. Earnings, excluding items, rose $5.39 per share from $4.71 a share in the year earlier period. Revenue eased to $29.3 billion from $29.49 billion a year ago. Wall Street had expected IBM to report earnings excluding items of $5.25 a share on $29.09 billion in revenue, so they beat on the earnings per share and on the revenue. And we see the results of that. IBM up about $7.70, $7.60 or so. Back over $200 for IBM. You're very welcome. Thank you for the feedback. Oh, that reminds me, I was trying to also get the ticker striping that I had up earlier. Got to relog into the channel here. But if you guys have any, and I wonder if this even came through. I was talking to myself for a long time there, RJ. Thanks for helping out. What I had said to you guys is if you'd like to bring up any trades you took today, you can send them to me in PM, or if you'd like to call in on Skype, or if you'd like to keep them to yourselves, that's fine too. But if you'd like, we can talk about any reports that you'd like to talk about, any trades, any questions you might have about the HPS or about the market in general, whatever it is. All right, Lear, so that was not for Goldman Sachs, because I don't think see anything special happening there, but I get it. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. So CREE with an interesting report, and their conference call is about to start in another 3 minutes or so. So we'll see if this pop holds. They're down 30 cents on the day, 29 cents on the day, and they're up from that point another, let's call that 76 cents or so. So after hours. So that's not too shabby. Let's see if we can get that ticker working again. Okay, looks like that's working again. Close that down. Hopefully when I close that down it doesn't get rid of it. Oh boy. Yeah, it seems like I have to keep that line open there just to keep the ticker going. That's a little annoying. But we will do what we have to do. You're going to keep making me log in, you stinker. So nothing coming out of Benzinga on any of these reports. And take a look at the ES now, back hitting at hitting 1490 again. Little double top action going on, giving the 50 period a chance to catch up now to the 20. And another 15 minutes or so left for the futures session. And I'm sure they would love to have this thing pin up here at the highs with everything else. So we'll see how that goes. And there we are, hitting some new highs on the ES, now at 90.25. Let's put a couple songs on, and we'll see if we can pull up some more news for you.
Get up at an age around in their early 30s, and they start to think of like lifetime companionship. And that's when they start to meet ladies who are not too prone to trust anybody. And they got plenty of history to prove to you why they shouldn't trust nobody. But at that time in your life, you're saying, hey, but I didn't know you then when all that stuff was going down. Put them other cats away, man, and let me try to make something in your life. La 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 la. I only want to love you. Please don't push me away. Let me in your life. I wasn't even there when he hurt you. So why should I have to pay? Let me in your life. I wanna share your tomorrow. So I must beg you today. If he's a cause of your sorrow, be glad that he's gone away. I need someone, let me love you.
Coming out of Intuitive Surgical's Q4 conference call, company
Please don't
sales to be lower
push
than
me
Q4
away.
Sales also sees full year 13 sales up 16 to 19% on a year-over-year basis. Ticker, excuse me, ticker ISRG.
I thought he wasn't going to say it for a second. Ticker ISRG was that little news item.
La, 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 la. Yeah. Thank you.
Had to sort it out. Cancel reservation. Translation must be wrong. People make a sound like driven in frustration, misreading it too long. But what else makes us strong? And before evacuation, counting. Cancel all our flights, reschedule them for never. Don't need to be on time. I'd better be alone, waiting for my planes on, watching cold go by. But what else makes us strong?
All right. That was the band name Lausch and a song called Counting. I came across this band. Somebody posted a video of one of their songs off of this album. I believe the name of the album is Canada is Falling. It's a 2012 album. Maybe you guys want to check that out if you like that kind of music. Some of it's a little harder than others, but it's one of the nicer songs. I thought it's on there. And it's, I believe, a little so independent it may not even come up in the room there. I don't even know if it's broadcasting to my channel to give you the song title, but that's what that was. Lausch, L-A-U-S-C-H. Can't tell you much more than that. So let's take a look at some of the earnings. We had some of the members in the room talking about Intuitive Surgical. Up now, what did we say there, RJ? $56 after the close? Let's do my math here. 8, 6, 46. I got 46 after the close. And I don't know, maybe it was up. I don't see how it was up another 10 from where it is now. But anyway, let's see if we get some news here on what's going on with this company, Intuitive Surgical. Fourth quarter earnings rose 16%. By the way, RJ, am I talking to myself? RJ? Someone please tell me I'm not talking to myself. Yeah, I think I'm broadcasting. Amid continued growth of the company's Da Vinci robotic surgical system, shares were up 5.2% at $545.51, and we see them more than that now, in recent after-hours trading as revenue topped expectations. Thank you, Hoover. And thank you, J-Dub. And I laughing. Thank you. I'm going to get dizzy looking back at the screen. I know you did, RJ. Thank you. I didn't hear you answer me, but I'm going to get that microphone installed in your room soon. By the way, the futures are due to close in about a minute here. We set a new high for the day at 91.25, trading now at 91. Looks like that was a bull flag, and if you see that trend line, you notice how it played itself out there and held up, bouncing, pretty close to it. And it looks like, man, oh man, do they want to just keep this thing going? Another new high at 91.50 and still going. I don't have my countdown clock on this one here, but judging from the order flows, I don't see them going anymore, so I think we're closed now. Closed. There, ladies and gentlemen, closed in the pit, 91.50 being our close high of the day. Closing up $12 on the day at 91.1491. This is the March contract. What is going on? Well, definitely a lot of excitement happening with these earnings reports here after the close. And debt ceiling, Schmet ceiling. It looks like the world is going to be a better place, and there's nothing more to worry about, right? Just keep on spending the money. Sounds like a Brady Bunch song. So, back to the report here on Intuitive Surgical, ISRG, the company's Da Vinci machines, which cost about... Does anybody know how much a Da Vinci machine costs? If you care to take a guess, this is a... I'll tell you what it does. It's used by surgeons to conduct minimally invasive procedures, including prostate... Yeah, that's the word. Including prostate removals and hysterectomies. In recent years, Intuitive has looked to diversify the machine's use in more general procedures. More recently, analysts have raised concerns as procedure growth has slowed amid shifts toward non-surgical methods to treat prostate cancer in the U.S. and conditions in Europe. However, how much is a Da Vinci machine? Do we have any guesses? We have one guess at a lot. Would you say $100,000? This is going to be one of those gas contests where he hates it that I'll Google the answer. I don't mind guessing a little bit, but then it drives me a little crazy. I have to look it up. $100,000. We've got Devil's Advisor saying millions of dollars, and that is closer. We've got 150,000, 62 million. Somebody Googled it. 300,000. Thank you for the guesses here. Yeah, the answer is from Mean Gene. And actually, Mean Gene, maybe that was a guess because the report I'm looking at says it costs about $1.5 million each. And really, once you get over $1.25 million, it really is about $1.5 million. Wondering what the sales tax is on that $1.5 million, and you get to amortize that over 30 years or what. But that's what these machines cost. I don't have a report as to how many of them they're selling. Maybe somebody can comment on that, but that is quite a bit. And actually, I just am reminded, Dr. Gass, of course, in the room. Perhaps he has come across this machine or several of them at his hospital. Can let us know how many of them there are. We're talking Learjet about the Da Vinci machine that Intuitive Surgical has been producing and selling. I don't know if it's the only machine that they make, but their earnings are up 16% on in their fourth quarter earnings. In the latest period, system sales rose 18% to $264.9 million, while overall procedures grew 25%, driven primarily by U.S. gynecology and general surgery growth, which partially offset a decline in U.S. prostate procedures.
15 cents after hours.
Okay, I guess I'm not the only one that forgets to hit his microphone. So, not sure who's up 15 cents after hours. But somebody is. Where did I leave off? Sales of instruments and accessories. Oh, of course, there's accessories that go with this thing, right? Which are used in procedures, were up 29% to $253.8 million. Intuitive Surgical reported a profit of $174.9 million, or $4.25 a share, up from $151.2 million, or $3.75 a share a year earlier. Revenue increased 23% to $609.3 million. Analysts polled by Thomson Reuters most recently projected earnings of $4.04 on revenue of $584 million, and their gross margin fell to 71.9% from 73%. Wow, gross margin, nearly 72%. I'm in the wrong business. So that's just a little bit on Intuitive Surgical. Let's see what some of the other after-hours reports are. I don't think we talked about IBM. International Business Machines Corp said on Tuesday its quarterly net income rose 10% to $6.1 billion, or $5.39 a share, from $4.71 a year earlier. Revenue dropped 1% to $29.3 billion. Analysts had expected the Armonk, New York-based company, to report net income of $5.95 billion, or $5.25 a share. So they beat that. Revenue in Brazil, India, Russia, and China increased by 7% in 2012, or 12% adjusted for currency fluctuations. IBM estimated earnings of at least $16.70 a share for the full year, above analyst consensus forecast of $16.57. Some analysts said IBM's results were a sign that the tech spending environment was improving. Quote, "It is better than what people had feared," said Brian Marshall, an analyst of ISI Group. Virtually every segment did a little bit better than people expected. It supports the fact that things are getting better out there, at least from a tech industry standpoint. Well, let's face it. How many businesses can get by without their tech equipment? And what that means for the overall society, I don't know what to tell you there. But obviously, folks have to keep their IBM equipment up and running. And of course, besides IBM, the large size machines that you think about, there's IBM Global Services, sort of the geek squad for the corporate environment, and they do pretty well with their revenue. It'd be interesting to drill into those numbers and see how the support team fares. I actually used to work for IBM Global Services, disclosure there, number of years ago. Let's call it 13 years ago. Okay, so a little better than fear. Now, Microsoft has their earnings on Thursday, so let that be a lesson to you, boys and girls, to take a peek at Microsoft. and see what they're up to tomorrow with all of this news going on. In fact, why don't we, if I dare, clear Google off the screen for a second and see if Microsoft made any moves after hours. Off of IBM, doesn't look like tremendously so, because they're up a nickel after hours. So now, that being said, Microsoft has so much, what do they call it, the float. Their float is so large that it takes a lot to make that thing move. I don't know what you're talking about, Learjet. I don't know what you're talking about. And if you're looking at my screen trading your account, you're in trouble, my friend. And stop trading on wireless. So that's IBM. Let's look at the report on CREE. Interesting to see some of the LCD stocks back in the news. This might end up having us pull up Corningware, GLW, and CREE, and who were some of the other ones that we were trading about a year or so ago when these smartphones were taking off. So CREE is a market leader in LED lighting. Today announced revenue of $346. Let me see if I got a newer report than this. Yeah, I guess this is it from right after the close. They announced revenue of $346.3 million for its second quarter of fiscal 2013, ending December 30th, 2012. Represents a 14% increase compared to revenue of $304.1 million reported for the second quarter of fiscal 2012, and a 10% increase compared to the first quarter of fiscal 2013. GAAP net income for the second quarter was $20.4 million, or 18 cents per diluted share, an increase of 69% year over year, compared to GAAP net income of $12.1 million, or 10 cents per diluted share for the second quarter of fiscal 12. On a non-GAAP basis, net income for the second quarter of fiscal 13 was $36.9 million, or 32 cents per diluted share, versus 25 cents the second quarter of 2012. Here's a quote from the report. Fiscal Q2 was another strong quarter with record revenue and earnings per share that were higher than our target range due to stronger sales in both LED and lighting, combined with improved gross margins. This is Chuck Swoboda, their chairman and CEO. Overall, company backlog is in line with seasonal trends for our fiscal Q3. Longer term, we remain focused on driving adoption through innovation, and with our broad understanding of the technology levers from materials through systems, we see opportunities to move the market even faster than what has been experienced to date. Let's see here. Recent business highlights. Well, just some certifications that they got. And the rest of this is their actual report, which I'm not going to drive myself crazy trying to read. Here's some info that just came out a few minutes ago on Google. Revenue from Google Inc.'s core internet business outpaced many analysts' expectations during the crucial holiday quarter, and advertising rates fell less than in previous periods, pushing its shares up more than 4%. The world's largest internet search company introduced new product listings during the fourth quarter, typically its strongest, and also benefited from business growth in international markets. Excluding traffic acquisition costs, the business generated net revenue of $9.83 billion, up from $8.13 billion a year earlier. Remember, does Google make anything? I know they're starting the Nexus tablets, but I'm pretty sure they don't make that themselves. This is just amazing that a company does this kind of thing. Business looked really strong, especially from a profitability perspective. They really grew their margins in the core business. This is from an analyst. Most of that strength seems to be coming from international markets, which grew revenues quite substantially, up 23% year over year versus the 15% growth in the third quarter. Average cost per click, a critical metric that denotes the price advertisers pay Google, declined 6% from a year ago, the fifth consecutive quarter of decline. Google executives told analysts on a conference call that the company had focused on improving the metric, shoring up margins, while lowering the overall growth rate of paid clicks in the holiday quarter. Quote, click prices are still declining, but it's better than expected. Here's a headline. Motorola Mobility, quote, still losing money. Consolidated net income in the fourth quarter was $2.89 billion, or $8.62 per share, compared with $2.71 billion, or $8.22 per share in the year-ago period when Google had not yet acquired Motorola. Excluding certain items, Google said it earned $10.65 a share in the fourth quarter. The core business, this is a quote, the core business is a great business, and the fourth quarter is always a time for Google to shine. However, Motorola is still losing money, and click rates still declined. They only declined 6%, but go back 4 or 5 quarters, and click prices were improving. So mobile is still pressuring click prices. That's, again, from that analyst. The company posted consolidated revenue, which includes its Motorola Mobility mobile phone business, but not the television set-top box business it recently agreed to sell, of $14.42 billion on Tuesday. Motorola Mobility had an operating loss of $353 million during the quarter. Shares of Google were up roughly 4.5% in after-hours trading. And that was at 734 and change. Google trading now at 737. So up a solid $36 or so from the close. I thought we were up 46. Or was it 46 or 42? It's kind of surprising. But that's where we are. Now I'm just going to reduce this. You'll should still see the dollar amounts, just not the chart, which I guess doesn't really help you if it doesn't give you the after hours. Let me see what happens if I scooch this over. That's a technical term. Scooch. There we go. That should give us, let's see if I can even that up. And then I'm going to take this and pop that out a little bit. Okay. So, I had a question from one of the members. Hopefully they're still around. And the question had to do with trend lines. How do you know where to draw trend lines? How do you make sense of it all? I'm going to delete the channel that I drew there. So right now on the screen we have these red lines here. They're a little scrunched up, so I don't know if for you at home or on your cell phone, your iPad, your Nexus, your Samsung Note 2, Galaxy 3, your Chinese knockoff tablet, Asus, whatever you're using, then you're probably wondering what these red lines are here and trying to figure that out. Well, these are a pivot study. I'm using Thinkorswim, and that's a study that I just threw in there, and I didn't make any changes to it. So that's just a standard study. Of course, you have the moving averages. That's another study you can add. And I'm using the same ones that Johnny uses during the day. The 20 period and the 50 period are here in blue and red. I also have in this lighter off-white color the 150 period and the 200 period moving averages, so you see them kind of in line here with everything else. So those are the 4 averages I have. Let's ignore the stochastics for now, and I will be seeing if I can combine that soon. And then these other lines I have, you might see a dark blue, a yellow line, and a green dashed line. These are all dashed lines. These represent the open, close, and high values from the prior day and today. So the blue line, the dashed blue line, that's today's opening price, 1483. And of course, since we're looking at the ES, it would be the beginning of the session, which began last night at 6. The yellow is the close of the previous session, which would have been at, or should be at, about 11:30 Eastern Time yesterday with the holiday the way it was. And then the green is yesterday's high, what you're not seeing is yesterday's low, which is probably down here. Let's see if I change my zoom. I can move this up a little. And there's yesterday's low all the way down here. So interesting the way that played out. So now, trend lines. Where do you draw trend lines? This is something that just comes with time. There are obviously very set rules that some follow, and I'm not going to present myself as being the world's foremost expert on drawing trend lines. So I will leave that to the more sophisticated. However, if you are trying to understand the concept of trend lines, then you simply need to understand how to read your candles here. You've got a flow of the candles that if you were to draw a line to follow the candles, it may look similar to the moving average line. If you were just to draw a line, and it would be a swirling line, right? But along the way, as this is going on, you have traders that are buying and selling. And this is a 1-minute chart. So every minute of a new candle, there's a story going on. There's a high of that period, that 1-minute period. There's a low of that 1-minute period. There's an opening price, and there's a closing price in that 1-minute period. And I'll explain it this way. If you think about a price level, so let's use a price level like this green price of yesterday's high. Okay? When the trading goes on, and let's just use this period of time here. This is about 1:15 p.m. So as this trading activity moves up towards that price, what happens at that price level from yesterday's high? Well, you have people yesterday who perhaps saw that price and thought that it was a great price, so they bought at that price level. And yet, however long it spent under that price, perhaps they were a little frustrated that it went down on them. They thought it was going to go higher. So those people, when it now comes back to that price level, they might be telling themselves, you know what? I'm going to close out my trade and I'll get break even, and I'm going to reassess myself and see where and find something another time. So that's some people who are looking at that price level. You have another group of people who decided to short at that price level. So as the price has been trading below that number, they've been excited. They shorted it. So they're in the money. They have a profit if they close out. So now as the price is going back to that level, they're saying to themselves, oh, I got to get out of this trade. We're back at that level again. So they have to sell. So now you've got two groups of people that are selling at that price level. Then you have a third group of people who didn't buy, and when I say sell, by the way, I mean closing out their position. Obviously you have buyers and sellers at that price. Then you have a third group of people who come to this price level, and yesterday, when it came to this level, they were saying to themselves, oh, it's a good price, but I don't know if I should buy it. I don't know if I should sell it. And they didn't do either one. So now, as the price gets back to that level, they get interested again. And they're starting to review their reasons for not getting in before. And maybe now that it's back at that price level, they're starting to say, hey, I want to get in again. So they're going to choose to either buy or short at that price level. So the point is, there's all these opportunities, all these price levels, and really this applies, this story, this scenario applies for every price level from 1400 up to 1500 and every space along the way. That this scenario goes on with these three kinds of viewpoints for the price level. Now, when the price ends up trading at a certain level for a long period of time, so for example, these volume spikes, you got to look at the volume spikes, and that means you have a lot of activity going on at those price levels, then you're adding to the story because now you have more participants. So obviously these other price levels, not as interesting. these price levels, a little more interesting. So that's where the story goes. Now, when you do have a candle that gets created, and let's just look at this group of candles here that's created in this price level, and then the candles start moving away from that price level. Okay, as it comes back into that level again, and this, look at this. This is about an hour later. Okay, then you look at the candles. Same high, same high, same high. You have about 5 highs in a row. In fact, I can, let's see if I can scooch this over so we can look at those candles maybe a little thicker. So we're looking at the 130/230 time period, or I should say 115. Here we go. Okay, so here's 115. We went past the high and set these new price levels here at 84.75, right? Let me scooch this down so you can see that a little better. And then here we are an hour later, and we're getting back to those same price levels again, right? And we're hitting same price levels. So the pressure starts to build. The people that saw the level and they were waiting for it, they get in. The people who decided not to get in and still see it sitting at that level, they start to think, maybe that is a good price. Maybe I should get it for that price. There it is again at that price. Oh wait, it moved a quarter higher. Maybe down here was too good of a price. I shouldn't let it go. And then when it comes down, they're like, oh, gotta get in. And it moves it back up again. I'm probably oversimplifying what's taking place at these price levels, but that's just to give you a sense, if you're wondering, that's kind of what's going on. Now, as far as knowing where to draw trend lines from there, well, the fact is that all of this story about the price level, this is human behavior. Forget the computers that are out there. Computers were programmed by humans, so there's a little bit to do with that. But for the rest of it, it's human behavior. Thank you, Tyler. So to the person who asked me about drawing trend lines, what you're dealing with is the progression of the price moving from one level. So let's look at this level at about a little past 1:30 p.m. Okay, 84.25, to now moving to this level, 84.5, to moving to this level, 85, moving to this level. Now you see, as I'm moving my crosshairs, and they project off to the right, you see I'm hitting more and more tops of candles, and there's this gradual increase until you've got this sharp incline, right? So the more that you can see this gradual increase, that's a trend. And you don't need to draw the line on the screen to see that trend. The line is drawn there to help us imagine that trend and what would happen after it. So in this case, I simply took this period of time here, and I'm seeing this price level at about 12:30 or so, and then later on there's a new high, later on a new high, later on another new high, and then we see this breakout. So in order to visualize how this plays out into the distant future, is you draw your trend line. Now I'm using Thinkorswim, and you're going to want to have your snapping turned on. There is a setting for snapping, and this is it here, drawing, snapping. I have it set to open, high, low, close of the candle, and you can use the different settings there. So I'm just going to take this first peak here, which I don't know if you can see it at home, but there's a little bit of a tick pop to that green dashed line, and I'm going to right click and choose add single drawing, and the top one is trend line. And what that will do in this program is it will start the trend line on the candle I right-clicked on, and it snapped it to that candle. Okay, so I can just draw it to this next level and see where that takes us, or I can I'm not clicking it, I'm just moving the mouse around. I can go to that next price level here, and notice from where I just laid that down, I haven't clicked yet, but notice how the line catches the other highs from just the previous hour. I go to the next level, and again, I'm still kind of hovering along those lines there. So now I didn't go further. You could go further. You could go out to here if you like. At this high, this is at 16:01 p.m. But let's just, for argument's sake, say that we just set it to this level here. Okay, so I'm going to left click, and that draws the line in. On my program, it draws it as a yellow line. Now, here's another thing that I'd like to do. And let me make sure that folks are still understanding. Okay, so, yep, I see the viewer is still out there following along. Appreciate that. So, what I like to do in some cases is redraw this as a channel. Now, in other programs, and you'll see Johnny do this all the time, and Paul, RPM, of course, will do it because they're using a different program, is they prefer to just draw another line down here. And you can do that, absolutely. What I've been doing is just to keep these as parallel lines, I will right-click the line, and I could choose duplicate. It'll give me a second parallel line, or I could pick this, redraw as channel. Okay, so I'm going to pick that. What that did is give me a second parallel line that I can put anywhere I want as a parallel line. So I'm going to go down below the group of candles, and I'm going to follow Johnny's 1, 2, 3 pattern that I'm sure you've seen by now. He talks about it all the time, and if you watch the videos on YouTube, you'll see it as well. And that is here, the 1, 2, 3. So basically, you've got 2 lines up here, or 2 points, I should say, that we drew this line on, and I could redraw the trend line in this location. If I were to consider this bottom here at 1300 o'clock, or now that I've got more information, I can use this other candle that's out here at 1400. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that there, and now I have a channel. Okay, and we see it starting here at about 12:45 p.m. Eastern, and it came down, held up on the pivots, came back up at what's that, about 1:20 p.m. and then traded mid-range, came down, touched it, and then traded back up to it, etc., etc. So now if you're trading, let me move this back as if we're at this point here in the day. Okay, if you're here, the next thing that I like to do is say, well, will this line hold up? Is this going to be a continuation pattern into the future? So what you can do now is extend these lines. Now, if you wanted to, you can click on them, you can pick Activate Drawing, and then you could stretch it further and pick a different point in the future, and that's fine. What I like to use is the Extend feature. So I right-click on the channel. Now it's a single drawing. It's not simply 2 lines. It's a single drawing. So I right-click on either one of the lines, and it gives me this option here, Extend to Right. So I'm going to pick that, and now it's redrawn as a channel. So as I move to the right, look how the trades play out. And here you see it came down to the channel again. This is all in line with Johnny's patterns. It moves back up. It didn't quite get to the top of the trend line, but it now pulled back down. You know, we have a different story going on. These were setting new highs. Higher high, another new high. So I think part of the question had to do with the terms support and resistance. So in this sense, you have your resistance is to go higher because the previous high was just to here. And if I remember my day's patterns, yeah, we're past the previous day's highs, so we're setting new highs for the recent couple of days, couple of sessions. All right, so now we've broken out of the channel. Here, this is now after the close. Look at all this volume comes in right at the close. And, of course, the close of the general market is at 4 p.m. Eastern, but then the futures remain open for 15 minutes. And you then have the earnings came out, I believe, from Google, like right at the close. And so the fact that they had a positive set of earnings come out, it just moved the market to go further. So, in the simplest of terms, resistance and support, those are the two terms, right? So, what are you standing on? Okay? You're standing on a floor. You're probably sitting down, but your chair is on a floor. You're standing on a floor. That's your support. What's underneath you is your support. Look up. Unless you're trading on a beach somewhere, in which case, more power to you. There's probably a roof or a ceiling above you. That's resistance. Okay? Now, if for some reason you had this ability that you could get on a ladder and drill a hole in your ceiling and climb through that hole and stand on the second floor. Okay? Now the ceiling becomes your support. It's new support. And there's another ceiling above you on the second floor that becomes resistance. So it's all about, using this terminology, it's about your perspective, and it's about how these price levels play out. So here's a beautiful example. When I had drawn this, and I had said this to you guys when I drew it, we had the breakout. Now, again, I'm not talking about predicting direction and all that. I'm just simply looking back at the chart and seeing what happened. So we had this breakout. You had this, what you might call, confluence of activity, because you had, again, newer highs. You had the trend line coming through here, which is representing some kind of mathematical percentage from the prior high and the previous low, etc., as well as a pivot point here, which is sitting right at 87.5. So you notice we traded around that for a while until the heat just burst and it just jumped up another full point or so, and then hit a new high at 1490, if you remember that. So when it was doing that, that's when I drew in these lines. And what I said to you guys was, I wonder if this trend line would now become a level of support. It's no longer resistance because it broke through it. It's setting new highs. So the question was, is this now a level of support? So let me scroll to the right, and we'll see how we traded sideways for a little bit, and then we set some new highs, and some more new highs, and some more new highs. So now I wonder if when I drew this I'd actually just picked this, because I thought that the trading came down to the trend line a little closer than it's showing now. So I'm going to activate the drawing, and that gives me a chance to grab that second pivot point here on the drawing, and I'm just going to bring it back to this prior candle here and let it go. And sure enough, that's what I thought. So actually, just grabbing these first two candles and letting it draw in, you notice this flag never broke through that trend line. So the trend line became support at that point. Did break through the 20 period moving average, but with the price action the way it was, it allowed the 50 period to move in. And now you're going to end up with support on the 20, further support down here on the 50, here's support on the trend line, further support on the pivot line. So all of this is going on. Let's look at the volume profile. You can see here we kind of skipped over this area, so not a lot of selling going on at this price level here, and then we jumped and created a whole nother set of sales at this price level. So from that perspective, we've got a lot of support now to get from this level here at 91.5 back down into the 80s. The stochastics are getting a little bit more overbought, so there certainly is a chance of that breaking down. And again, just to reiterate, we're looking at a 1-minute chart. This isn't the only story, okay? I'm giving you part of the story. You're going to want to look at the 60-minute stochastics. If you're looking for an entry, you might want to look at a 5-minute and see what that's doing. And in Thinkorswim, I do have it set to synchronize the drawings so they carry forward to the other time frames. So here's the 5-minute, and again you see it's still hitting new highs. So if the market was open right now, unless you're looking for a short term, you might want to take a look and see what it's doing before you start diving in, right? Here's a 15-minute. Let's look at that 60-minute chart. I don't know why my charts love to just have... Alright, so there's your 60-minute, and it's just, in the grand scheme of things, it's got, it looks like it still has room to go. Just looking at the stochastics. Getting a little tired. You can see the average here. Not quite the average of the prior couple of sessions. And the daily might just be a little too busy to make any sense. Let me see. Oh, I changed this to options expiration. Let's put that on daily. And back it up here. Zoom out a bit. Maybe zoom in is what I wanted, not zoom out. Okay. So there's the direction here. So really 52-week high. That's what I thought we were sitting at on the ES here at 91.5. So interestingly, we have a trend line above us here, which is, as of today's candle, it's sitting at about 15.13 or so. And where's that trend line from? Well, let's come back. I'll tell you what, maybe I should zoom out. There's that channel. That channel is, let's see if I hover on it, give me some dates. Yeah, it's going back to 09. So yeah, I think that's the March 09 low. So let's go back to that. This is kind of a sharp move these stochastics out of the way. And see what we're looking at. So this is a couple of trend lines I drew. This is the March 09 low, 665.75, and I am piercing, or not piercing, but I'm coming across the bottom of this next segment here from October of 2011. During most of the initial debt ceiling stuff that was going on at the end of 2011. And then I've got this top trend line here. Now I don't know if I drew this on the monthly calendar or not. Let me hover on it. We'll get the dates for it here. So that's from September 2009. Let me go to a weekly, see if that means anything different. And it only goes back 3 years when we do it that way. So let's go back to monthly. So this trend line here, I don't know how significant this one is. I probably drew it in at a certain point. I was looking at something, and now I don't know. It's kind of moot when it's piercing through so many candles here. But obviously, if we get back to the daily chart, we are seeing ourselves coming up to that line, or it's above us. But then again, we're talking about getting back into the 1500s by March, right? I'm pretty sure we've had some talks about that on Rainmakers Roundtable on Wednesday nights here on DayTradingRadio.com. So might be a good idea to tune in tomorrow night and see how this conversation plays out as we're up hitting to these new highs again. So I hope that answers the user question. Let me check back through my private messages here, and it looks like that triggered. I also heard Skype make a comment, and that was from the same person. So no problem at all. We're glad to help out with that. That's what we're about here at DayTradingRadio.com. We have these shows here for the members' benefits and no extra charge. So we're glad to have you here checking in, and feel free in the future to tune in. We'll have more shows and bring out some more information for you. Just to give you a little update, and I think Johnny was going to get into a little more detail today, but of course some things changed. And that is that you probably know that I've been doing the weekly shows here Tuesday evenings. Maybe some of you don't know that, but I have been, and I do plan to get back on doing that. That is Briguy's Tools of the Trade. I had a few tools lined up for some shows, and then the holidays came, and it kind of set things back a bit. So I'm just trying to get situated with a few of our friends and partners to get that information together, and we'll showcase that on some future shows again. We did have a nice show with Courtney a couple weeks ago, talking about the importance of an accountant on your team. And if you haven't seen that show, I recommend you check that out. That is in the members forum, and under After Hours shows, near the bottom of the list of forums, sub-forums, and you'll see Briguy's Tools of the Trade. And we also had a show that was last week. We moved it up to the 4:30 time slot, and that was with Amar from TickStrike, and we went over that software. Another excellent tool to have in your trading library. So again, that show was also excellent, and not because I say so, but because many of you said so, and I appreciate the feedback on that. We actually had a chance to talk to Amar a little bit about his trading style and not just about the software, and I think it gave a little bit of insight for many members as the futures is now opening up again here at 6 o'clock Eastern. So if you guys check that out, you might find that interesting. So let's see where we're at now. We did hit some highs of the period here at 91.50, and now you see these new open high low close lines on the screen. The low is still off the screen. It's way down underneath us here. But we have the new high at 91.5. We have the new closing line at 91 even, and the new open price. So we just gapped down about 50 cents here with the new opening price. So we'll see if this price level is going to just take a little bit of the energy out of the trading here as folks maybe start closing some of their shorts, maybe taking profits on their longs. And going into the next trading session, we'll see if these trend lines have anything to do with anything. All right. So we had a question in the room here asking about CHK. So let me check my notes on CHK and see what we have. As we watch the ES here, now trading up $1 on the day at 90.5. May have to stretch out these stochastics so they make a little more sense to you guys. Okay, I thought I hit pause on that. But 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 I hit pause on that. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Not sure why that looped around as much as it did. I hit pause and it was still talking. So I had to shut her down. And I was just checking on the HPS list here just to see a couple of the items here. We see already some triggers on the HPS list. So I'll leave that for another show. Maybe we'll go back and review that. So the ES, let's do this. Let's take CREE off the table. I'm going to throw the ES in there. It's going to be a little small, but at least you should be able to see the price level. Currently trading at 90.75. And the question on CHK, Chesapeake Energy. So let's switch this over to the daily. And I don't have my notes from Johnny's coverage of this stock. So if you guys want to mention anything about it, please feel free to do so. Here we are on the daily. Stretch that a little bit off to the side, and we can see what's happening here is we actually popped up today 91 cents. Comparative to the other charts, this looks like a huge jump. However, it's representing a move off of the Friday highs, which it closed right at the highs. So pretty much opened at about the same price, and then just went up all day long, looks like. Be good to look at a 60-minute and see if that's actually what took place. And here we are. This red dashed line is the new session. And you have a steady run up, and then the last couple hours looks like it just ran out of some energy there, maybe some profit taking. Look at all the volume coming in. So strictly speaking, you have this I would combine this pattern, you might want to think of this as the right side of a V. And I might combine that with what happened back here in November, which is almost like the left side of a V. So, and this even goes back into October. You had this declining price action. Came through our moving periods. The volume didn't really pick up until you got this day here, which was after earnings. Okay, so this, I guess we missed earnings here. Let me see the price. Looks like earnings of 9 cents versus 10 cents actual, but must have been something with their forecast that moved this price down into this area. So we get into the new year, and looks like from the get-go we have this moving up here from around 16.5 to now 18.5, 18.75, and the volume is there, above average volume. We've now moved past our moving averages. The 20 and the 50 are crossing. I know that's RPM's favorite. And We've also popped through the 150 period moving average and the 200 period moving average. It might be of interest that the 150 crossed down below the 200 at this level. Okay, so the question is, sold it, made some money, when do I get back in, right? Well, I'd have to, I'm not going to give you a full picture on this because although Johnny's brought this up plenty of times, I can't say that I've been following it myself. Okay, missed opportunities aplenty, I'm sure, but not a trade that I've been taking. And so I would definitely have to take a look at the news on this and see what's happening news-wise. And I'm not going to get into all that on the air here, but you definitely want to take a look at the news. Just strictly from a technical perspective, if I'm not in this trade already, I would have to think about the fact that the 60 period is turning over. And here's all this volume coming in. And the daily, it's not exactly giving me the story that it wants to keep going. You don't want to guess a top, obviously, but it does look like it wants to take a rest up here. Now, it could trade sideways at this level for a while. Historically speaking, what does this price mean for the overall? Well, here's a little story for you. Here's your high at 26.9 and your low at 13.32. What's the halfway mark? That's where we get to look at our friend Mr. Fibonacci. Let's add a Fibonacci line. Retracements. And we'll pick the low here of 13.32. I got to figure out which candle it's pointing to. I believe it's this one here. And now let's zoom in and see that our 50% is above us. Okay, so the fact that you have the 2050 cross, that tells me that we have some more room up. The fact that the 60 minute stochastic is running out of steam tells me it wants to come down a little. And from an entry standpoint, if I were to look at the 5 minute stochastic, you got a whoopsie-doo here at the end of the day that's throwing it off, but these are definitely in a downtrend. So I'm going to tell you that I don't see an entry point. I would be guessing. For my trading style, I would be taking a guess at this. Would I keep watching it? Absolutely. Absolutely. See if these lines straighten out tomorrow, and if you get yourself into a candle that's gapping up here, then that's great. You want to stay in that, but I would be wary around this 50% line, 1966. Go back and look at the trading that happened here in August, September, October. We went right around that price level, and that gets into that explanation I gave you guys earlier about the three people looking at prices, the three different opinions about the prices. Good chance you're going to see some activity around those price levels again. I don't know the news to say what the impetus will be to push this further up, back into the 20s, 21, back to this recent high. You do have earnings coming out on the 21st of February, which is, that's not the week of expiration of options expirations afterwards, so that may come into play as well. But that's my perspective. Definitely, I know it's a favorite of Johnny's, so you can bring it up with him tomorrow. I'm sure he'll be happy to give you some thoughts on it. This is back to the 1 minute chart, so I have the volume profile on here, and it's showing the VPOC, the value point of control, on a 1 minute perspective, and I got in trouble for this yesterday. So perhaps the better term would be the micro composite VPOC. Is my buddy Kumar around to help me out here? Not a true VPOC, but a relatively speaking VPOC on a 1 minute, and that is that we're trading right at that level. So again, what that tells you is that a lot of people like this price. They think it's a good price, and there's going to be a pushing and pulling right now. As a trader, I don't like to be in the middle of everybody pushing and pulling. I'm a little guy. I'm going to get run over. I'd much rather be ahead of the game and look for a target in the distance that I think it's going towards, and get in at the time before it gets to that point, if that makes any sense to you guys. Got another question here. Can you show how to rotate through 10 charts quickly on the TOS platform, or can it be done? I'd love to show you that. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Let's play a little song, and then we'll show you that in a minute. Let's leave the ES on the screen for a few minutes and let you guys enjoy that. We'll play a little song and come back in just a moment for you guys. It is 6:13 p.m. Eastern Time here on DayTradingRadio.com. You're listening to Briguy's After Hours.
My dear son, it's almost June. I hope this letter catches up with you and finds you well. It's been dry, but they're calling for rain, and everything's the same old same in Johnsonville. Your stubborn old daddy ain't said too much, but I'm sure you know he sends his love. And she goes on in a letter from home. I hold it up and show my buddies like we ain't scared and our boots ain't muddy, and they all laugh like there's something funny about the way I talk when I say mama sends her best, y'all. I fold it up and put it in my shirt, pick up my gun and get back to work, and it keeps me driving on, waiting on letters from home. My dearest love, it's almost dawn. I've been lying here all night long, wondering where you might be. I saw your mama and I showed her the ring. Man on the television said something, so I couldn't sleep. But I'll be alright, I'm just missing you. And this is me kissing you. X's and O's in a letter from home. I hold it up and show my buddies like we ain't scared and our boots ain't muddy, and they all laugh 'cause she calls me honey, but they take it hard 'cause I don't read the good part. I fold it up and put it in my shirt, pick up my gun and get back to work, and it keeps me driving on, waiting on letters from home. Dear son, I know I ain't written, and sitting here tonight alone in the kitchen, it occurs to me I might not have said it, so I'll say it now. Son, you make me proud. I hold it up and show my buddies like we ain't scared and our boots ain't muddy, but no one laughs 'cause there ain't nothing funny when a soldier cries. And I just wipe my eyes. I fold it up and put it in my shirt, pick up my gun and get back to work. And it keeps me driving on, waiting on. Letters from home.
All right, that was Letters from Home from John Michael Montgomery. Actually just threw on a random song there, and that's the one that came up there, so glad you guys like that one. I believe that's Montgomery from Montgomery Gentry. Didn't know he was putting out some solo music. So we got the ES on the screen. We're now at 90 1/4. Setting up again for another flag, it looks like. Of course, we got a lot less volume going on, but we do see the moving averages starting to come together. We'll see if we stay up here that much longer or just keep plowing ahead as we're digesting the earnings news that has come out here after the close. You're listening to Briguy's After Hours here on DayTradingRadio.com. We hope you enjoy the show. We'll be presenting you some news, some coverage of the earnings, and anything else that you guys would like to talk about. Coming up the rest of this week, here's a few of the notable earnings that are due to come out. We've got Apple due to come out tomorrow with their earnings. Microsoft is on Thursday. Procter & Gamble on Friday. Also, looks like McDonald's coming out tomorrow with their reports. I don't have whether that's before or after the close. If you'd like to know that, ask me and I will find it for you. We had a question about cycling through your stocks and whether you can do that with Thinkorswim. And the answer to that question is yes, and there's a couple of ways to do it. Let's give you, because I was going to show you the one way, and now it just occurred to me of the second way to do it. Alright, I already have a chart set up here that I will show you, and let me just let this load up with the data, and when it's done, I'll bring it over to the screen. Okay. So, this is a chart that I set up. Let's call it a grid. It's a 3x3 grid. And if you are setting up a new chart, all you need to do is go to your chart tab in Thinkorswim, and somewhere on the right side of the screen is this little icon. If I hover on it, it tells me detach this layout in a separate window. So it looks like two squares, like one on top of the other square. But if you click that, I'll show you what it does. My computer is a little bogged down with all the stuff I have running. But in a moment, you should see another grid of 9 that comes out. Do you see how it did that? And now it's going to populate it with all of the data. And I've got these little warning screens that have been coming up because it's crying that I have too many studies and I should really delete some of my studies. And I'm not ready to do that yet. And I need to write down some of the trend lines so I can redraw them. But anyway, that's for another day. So let's say I just took that other chart of 9 and I like it. I don't want to mess around with it. And now I have a new chart of 9. Okay. Now here in the grid, you can simply click on the grid space and then create another grid. I can make this a 2x2. I could go 3x4. I could go 4x3, etc. And you can do this based upon the size of your screen. So maybe you've got multiple monitors and you've got a smaller one off to the side, and you'd be better off with a 3x4, or maybe you've got it oriented in a portrait mode, so you want to do 4x3. Whatever you'd like to do, you can do. So let's say I just expanded this to 3x4. Okay. And so now I have 12 cells. And then let's say I just want to have a few stocks that I'm watching. So I'll just throw in a few at random here. CHK. I'll leave the VIX up. There's the SBX. The tick. Let's make that Google. Underneath it, let's put Apple. And let's say we're getting ready for earnings. I'll put McDonald's, and then I'll put Microsoft over here. Okay. So you can have this on your screen, and you might have seen this sometimes when Johnny moves his windows around with his software, which I believe is Quote Tracker. What he does is these are all individual windows. So instead of being a group of 12 that's linked in a single window, he has them individually. It gives him more flexibility to do the show. So you may not feel that you need to do that from your home computer, but it's up to you. So now, if you have this on your screen, then at a glance, sure, you could take a look. You can kind of get a sense of the excuse me for that. You can kind of get a sense of the layout that you want. And just bear with me. We're not taking any calls right at this time. And if you want to just post something in the chat here in Skype and let me know what you'd like to talk about before you call in, I'd appreciate it. And we'll be very happy to have you on. But I just want to make sure I got some new viewers here, and I'd like to be introduced before we put you on the air. So what you can do then is have this at a glance, so you're able to see the price levels. You could see the charts, and this is not a great example because I do have a lot of data on the screen. I've got the trend lines in here a little differently because I don't use this chart the way I'm describing it to you. But you can certainly set this up so that you can look at it conveniently at a glance and get your information. The second thing is that you to view these one by one. That was the question about looking at these one by one. So to do that is you need to expand one of these charts, and to do that is you can double click the heading. So I need to find one of these that has a price level that I can double click, that I'm not clicking on all the numbers and the info in between, and I think I could do it right about here. Let's see if that expands this the way I want it to. Alright, it's not exactly. So what I'm going to do is just expand my entire screen, because I kind of need to click on where the name of the stock is. Here you see Chesapeake. So I'm going to double click that, and then I will move this back down to that smaller size, just so that you guys can, at home, you can still see the ES on the screen. So when you are able to see and double click that bar here in the heading, what you're doing is expanding that cell. Now if you can see at home in the top section here, I have this the 3x4 grid, and you'll see that one of the squares is in red. That is the current cell that we're looking at, Chesapeake. Okay, it's the top left corner. And using these arrows that you have here, you can then go to the second square. So you see, if I'm going to click on that, now it goes to the VIX. That was the second one I had up there, and you'll see that's the center red in the top. If I move to the third cell, that's the top right, and you can see where that is. Okay, so that's the GC. So as I keep cycling, I'm going to hit right and right and right. You're going to see the chart changes to the different vehicle that I had plugged into that particular cell. And if you're looking at this 3x4 grid, you'll see that that red cell highlight is changing. As I keep moving to the right, I'm clicking on the right, I'm clicking on the right. I'm doing it slowly so you guys can see at home it changing on the screen. And when it gets to the lower right cell, and then I hit the right arrow, it pops into the top left cell, and it cycles back around again. Okay? So this is one way if you did have a group of stocks that you were trying to see how they were doing, and you can set their time frames, whatever you'd like. I just have this set to different things. I have an hour for some, a minute for others, 15 minutes for some. But each one can have its own time frame, its own study, its own style, etc., etc. And that's how that works. When you're done and you want to go back to the full grid, that's what this little curly back left arrow is. If I hover on it, it says minimize cell. You simply click on that and it restores it to the prior 12. So I'm getting a question about the arrows. The arrows aren't there in the full cell mode. You have to first double click one of the cells so that takes up the full window, and then the arrows appear. It's to the left of the grids, and it's only if you're using multiple grids. If you still have trouble seeing it, let me know and I'll go over it again. But that's how that works. Okay? So you can have, like I just mentioned, you can have 12 different, in this example, 12 different stocks or vehicles, because it doesn't have to be stocks. It could be futures, it could be options. You can actually have a stock in one cell and the option for a call in the second cell and a put in the third cell, etc., etc. And you can use that for comparison's sake. So Kumar, you have to have the grid, and then you have to be double clicked into one of the cells so that it's expanded, and then your grid, let's call this icon, avatar, whatever, it is showing a red highlight in one of the cells. Okay? Are you seeing that? So the other thing you can do, okay, now this is using the 9 cells to have 12 different, or to 12 cells I should say, to have 12 different vehicles. The other thing you can do is use the link feature in Thinkorswim. Now if you look to the right of the symbols that I have on the screen here, Google, IBM, etc., you'll see a little multicolored icon that's next to it. And this is for linking. The ES down here, you'll see a little number 5 in purple. In the larger window, you'll see a number 1 in red. And if I were to click on the Google link and bring down the list, you'll see what I'm looking at. My choices are unlink, which is the first one, and then I have 9 colors. So I can create 9 links. And there's different ways to use the links. Okay? So for example, I'll turn that off for a second. Over here in the larger window where I'm showing you the ES, and you notice we're coming right back to that trend line, and now the 2050 cross is in play. And I would say you have a good opportunity here for a short. If I were trading the futures, I am not. This is not advice for trading. You guys, please take your own account into your own hands, and don't let me spend your money, because it should be just as easy for you to just cut me a check now. Because just as I'm saying that, I'm looking at the stochastics are getting oversold. So there's a lot of fighting going on at this level here. Whether we're getting a wedge, an upward wedge with the opening price, I couldn't say. Sure is a lot of battling going to be going on at this price level. If I wasn't already in a price, I would sit on the sidelines and see where this is going. But that's that. So I'm sorry if you guys are asking questions and I'm missing it. It usually is helpful if you put my name in the comment, because that'll make it ring on my end, and then I'll see it in bold. You won't see it in bold, but I'll see it in bold, and it'll let me know that you're asking me a question. Also, of course, you guys can send me a private message. And by the way, you see that I've also included my text number there. You guys can send me texts. We've got emails. You can shoot me an email. In fact, going to check right now to see if we did get any emails from our viewers. Okay, I don't see anything yet, but that's quite all right. So getting back to this question about viewing multiple stocks in cycling through the windows, I'm just kind of explaining that to you. So here with the linking, you might notice I've got 6 cells here. It's 3 by 2 in this top section. And what I've done here, and I'm going to click the minimize cell to show you the 6, the 3 by 2. And these aren't exactly showing up on the screen lined up because they're just multiple expansions here. But what I've done with this example is I have 6 different, instead of 6 different stocks, I have 6 different time frames. Okay, so I use this to stay in the same stock. So you'll see the red 1 here. They each have a red 1. And starting from the top left is my daily, and then I have a 60-minute, a 15-minute, a 5-minute, a 3-minute, and a 1-minute. And I'll play around with this sometimes. Maybe I'll change the 15 to a 30. I'll change the 1 minute to a tick instead of a minute, and et cetera, et cetera. But again, you could do the same thing you did with the others, is that if I double click on the heading, so let's say I double click the daily, so I'm zoomed in now to the daily. Now I can click these right arrow and left arrow, and I know which order I put those time frames. So I know if I click once to the right, that's my 60-minute chart. I click once again, I'm at the 15-minute. Oh, I think I lost the broadcast. Hang on a second, guys. My internet went down. I don't know if you guys can hear me at all. No, we got a different video going on. It's telling me I'm streaming perfectly, but not sure what happened there. And we're back. If anybody remembers that SNL skit. All right. Not sure what happened there. It said my internet connection had dropped, but then it gave me my perfect streaming reference and made me feel like I was back in business, but I obviously was not back in business. So, I don't know about the accent. Anyway, 6:37 p.m. here Eastern Time. Briguy After Hours on DayTradingRadio.com, and actually running into a little bit longer of a show as I am covering some questions from the viewers, and I'm glad to do that. So, getting some folks reaching out to me on Skype that are not members, and that's okay. We appreciate that, but we like to get a little more introduced to folks before we have you on the air, and be happy to get introduced to you a little bit more. So thanks for listening to the show, though. And if any of the members like to call in, feel free to do that. And it looks like I lost the little scroll at the bottom. Let's see if we can get that back on again. If I get my my page loaded. RPM, good man. Good to see you back here with us. And not sure if you really did have a nap, because sometimes I think you just want us to feel like you're taking some time for yourself, when in reality you're just a machine. But that's okay. That's why we love you. So thanks for filling in for Johnny today with the unfortunate circumstances that had to happen. But we're here talking to the members about how to use the Thinkorswim platform to scroll through several stocks at once, several screens at once, or not at once, but just one by one. And give me a moment here. It looks like we got the scroll back on, and that's good. So I was pointing out to you guys, as we're looking at the ES here, up now 50 cents on the new session. We had gapped down ever so slightly on the close, and now we're at plus 25 cents on the trading day. Let me see if I got that right. In fact, I was trying to talk to you guys about whether this was coming from the 6 o'clock hour or the 5:15 hour. 5:15 would be here. I didn't mean 5:15, or the 4:30. So 4:30 would be back here. 89, and we're, yeah. Whatever the case, we're trading at 89.75 now, and you see where that trend line we went over earlier, how it played out. So it actually did. Here's the 2050 played out. I'm going to start calling this the RPM 2050. I know he didn't invent it, but he certainly has been pointing it out very often, and how it plays out in trading. So the 2050 cross pushed it down, and the support line here from this previous channel actually gave way as support and is now bouncing off of that as resistance, as well as bouncing off the 20 period. So you're going to want to look at some of the other time frames, and I was demonstrating to you guys earlier about cycling through, so I know I can left click twice on this to get to my 5-minute period, and look at the stochastics on the 5-minute. I mean, this thing is really calling for a short at this level. So again, I'm not giving you trading advice. You guys use your own accounts wisely, but I'm just telling you what the charts are saying. Here's our 60-minute, and this is kind of what we were looking at on Chesapeake, that you want to see what that next candle is printing, and it's still within that channel now, that new channel, but it sure looks like it wants to turn over after this pop-up. But we'll see if that's, could just as easily start embedding up here. Let's get back to the 1 minute. So getting back to the question, I don't even know if the person's still in the room that we were talking about this, but that's how you can use the linking options. Create 6 cells. What I was going to try to explain to you guys before I got cut off was that I have set the link with the same number for all 6 cells. Okay, so now if I go pick up another chart, let's say I want to look at gold, GC, then all 6 cells will update with the gold data, and they'll keep the same information. So I've got the daily, the 60, the 15 minute, the 5 minute, the 3 minute, and the 1 minute. And I can double click here, zoom in on the 1 minute, see what it's up to, and I'm getting a little bit of a delay, but it's down 40 cents on the session. And in perspective to my open, high, low, close, I'm not sure this is even accurate. I'm going to have to go back and look at my coding on this, because I wrote the script on this, and then Thinkorswim changed something, and I think it altered the way these lines are getting drawn. So now that I'm mumbling to myself, my point being, ladies and gents, is that's how you can look at different stocks. You could just simply type it in, and then you get all the time frames are being updated with that same stock. Now, watch lists. And by the way, if you go into members room, you're going to see a article on or previous videos, Briguy's Tools of the Trade. Look for the one I did on Thinkorswim, because I covered a lot of this in there too, and if I'm talking too fast for you now, you can go through that at your own pace and follow along with the videos. So the last thing I'm going to show you is using a watch list and linking it with the charts. So what I've done here is I have the same color red link, the number 1. It's the same number I'm using on the charts, and it doesn't matter if I'm looking at a cell of 3x3, 3x2 rather, or if I'm just looking at one individual cell. And let me just scoot this over so you guys can see it updated. Okay, now what I can do, instead of clicking the arrows on the chart to cycle through the charts, I can use the arrows on my keyboard and make sure I'm clicked into the watch list here, and I'm going to hit the down arrow, and well, let's see, maybe first I got to click in G for Google, and now I think, yeah, so now my up and down arrows work. You're looking at a chart, a watch list that I set up, which is mainly the indices and a few of the sector indexes for the markets. I do have a couple of other stocks I threw in here just because I needed to bring them up on the screen, and I had that watch list on the screen. But for argument's sake, if you look above the watch list, you'll see where it says HGX up here. Okay, that corresponds to the HGX on the watch list. If I hit the down arrow, it goes to OSX, that's the oil service sector. Down again, and it goes to the QQQs, power shares, and down again, it goes to the RUT for Russell, the Russell 2000. All right, so my point is that that's how you can, if you want to cycle through several stocks and you just want to see how they're setting up, this is a way to do that. You can just have a watch list of all the stocks and then down click them and get to see them on the right. My platform's working a little bit slow tonight. Partly I think it's because I haven't looked at these particular stocks in a while, and so all the data hasn't been loaded. So it's taking a moment to load it all. And secondly, it just could be having all of these various tools open right now and trying to broadcast as well. But that gives you an idea of how to use the linking feature in Thinkorswim in order to view the various charts one by one. Alright, so I'm clicking back on the ES on my watch list. Let's move over the time frame here. You see the volume profile. See if I can have that on the screen there for you. So now we're trading back into this channel, and if you look down here at the 150 moving average, the 200 is down below the channel, and you might have heard this terminology of the Kirby effect, as it were, because this price level here, a lot of volume I should say at these prices, and then you got this gap of trading that happened at this price level here, and then all of these price levels down here, a lot of volume. So there's going to be a little bit of a magnetic attraction to get down into these other price levels, and we'll see how that plays out. So, question in the room. I don't know if you got an answer. I thought volatility was supposed to be, and I lost it. Sorry. I thought volatility was supposed to be as low as possible. For what? I'm not sorry if I missed an earlier question that relates to volatility, or am I diving into the middle of the conversation here about volatility? You're welcome, Kingfisher. Hope that helped. Questions about rule of thumb on volatility and options. I've had several Apple February calls. Notice implied volatility is 50. Yeah, there's a lot of, and I don't have the answers for you as far as the exact numbers to look at, but just in the theory of volatility and the understanding of volatility is we're talking about how a price of a stock will move around a lot. So take, for example, something like GE, which is trading at, I don't want to mess up my charts here. Here, let's plug it in here. GE trading at $22. Now, I believe GE made a move in recent history, but for the longest time was trading at around $16, $17, $18. So in that standpoint, when you got a stock that's just moving around a couple dollars over 6 months, that's not a lot of volatility. You look at something like Intuitive Surgical, IBM, Google, Apple. There's a way you can look up, and we've talked about this on another show, Tools of the Trade, and that is FinViz. When you look at the volatility of some stocks, you want to see if their average true range of trading is over $3 or so, let's say. That's per day. And obviously, some of these are moving $5, $10, $20 in a single day. That's volatility. That's moving around a lot. Okay? Now, that volatility, that kind of volatility, will weigh on what's called the implied volatility of a stock. And some of you traders out there are a little bit better at explaining this than I am. So I will just, I see some of the conversation in the room and some suggestions to check out these other websites. I totally recommend that. There's plenty of other videos on that. And in the future, maybe we'll actually put together a show. We'll focus on volatility. I'll get all my notes out and make sure that I can explain it properly, or I'll make sure I have some guests on that can explain it very well to you guys. But suffice to say, the implied volatility is the amount of movement happening in that stock that the option is based upon, so that you're getting a price of the option that's expecting that move of the stock. And that opens the door to a whole conversation about a pricing of options. Another aspect of volatility is the measurement of what's called the VIX, the VIX. There's also the VXX, and a few others that you can look at. But the VIX, for example, is trading under $13 right now. Just to give you an idea of the history of the pricing, when the tsunami hit Japan a couple of years ago, the VIX was trading in the 30s and 40s. The reason being that there was a lot of potential damage to the market, and the prices of stocks was very fluid, and it was hard to even know and anticipate where it was going to go. So the options themselves became very expensive based upon the implied volatility of those options. Now, the volatility is very, very low. The VIX is down under 13, and so the prices of options, the volatility aspect of the price is so reduced that it's causing options to be worth a little bit more in line with, a premium over the actual stock price. So that gets into a bunch of conversations about options. We've had shows on that, and we will have more shows on options. I'm not sure if he's in the room, but I believe Trade for Pay is due to have a show tomorrow after the market closes, and I don't know what aspect of options he plans to cover, but I know that he is looking to have a show tomorrow, and among other things, I'm sure he'll be talking about options. Okay? So you guys continue, please, to have that conversation in the room. I don't mean to end that. What I'm going to do is wrap up the show. I thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate the interest in following the show, and hopefully we were able to cover some of the earnings here. After the close, we see now Intuitive Surgical looks like it actually moved up even more after that phone call, and so off of those highs, now trading at 562. Google also is off of its highs, trading at 737.5. And IBM looks like it's staying up at the highs, trading now at 204.61. So as we watch the ES now, trading back into that channel, up 25 cents from the opening of the session at 1489.75. You guys take care. Thanks for tuning in to Briguy's After Hours show. I'll be back here with you guys during the day, and I'll be back for a show Thursday after the market closes. So we'll put some tunes on for you folks. Hope you enjoy them. And we'll catch up with you in the AM with Johnny. Hopefully he and his family are doing well. And I hope you guys are doing well. So take care, stay warm, get your mittens on if you're going outside, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along. Well, we flew through Cincinnati and we all got really happy. Grabbed a bowl of that Skyline chili along the way. Then we rolled on into Canton, scared the hell out of Marilyn Manson, and the party started happening. Hey, hey, hey. And in the middle of a Charleston night, we ran into Jessica White, and a little moonshine got us right plumb smack insane. And we're coming to and helped us out. So we did headed up to Philly, partied down like real hillbillies, brought the music mafia and rocked it out. Oh, and Chippewa's where we go when we're up in Buffalo. Don't you know those Yankees drink enough to drown? Yeah, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jet airliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along, come along. Listen up. Now LA's got the freaks at pinks and $15 drinks, and San Antonio is a wild, wild rodeo. And in Phoenix, Arizona, we drank way too much Corona, and we woke up by the river in Jeff City, Mo. And we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jet airliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along. Yeah, yeah, we're coming to your city. We're gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jet airliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, if you want a little zing in your zang-zang, if you want a little ching in your chang-chang, come along.